Stoichiometry means the quantitative relationship between the amount of reactants and amount of products. The next few topics will help us to understand how to calculate the amount of products produced when we have a certain amount of reactants, or if we need a certain amount of product, how much of reactant do we need to start with. So before we consider this problem, this is a very simple example problem, and before we consider this, we should talk about conversion factors as related to the reaction given to us. Say you are considering the reaction that's given to us in the problem. Nitrogen plus 3 moles of hydrogen yields 2 moles of ammonia. This is a balanced equation. Now, one caution I want to make sure you all know is that you have to work with a balanced reaction. If your reaction is not balanced, then you have this ratio wrong. This is a 1 to 3 to 2 reaction. If you have this ratio wrong, then you will not have the right number of products and reactants. So when a stoichiometry problem is given to you, you have to make sure that the reaction is balanced. Okay. So what does this tell us? This tells us that if 1 mole of nitrogen molecules react with 3 moles of hydrogen molecules, 2 moles of ammonia are produced if all the conditions are right. And whenever a reaction is given to us, we assume that all the conditions are okay. Alright, so it's 1 mole of nitrogen reacting with 3 moles of hydrogen, producing 2 moles of ammonia. Now, say for example, we do not have 1 mole of nitrogen. So in this case, nitrogen, hydrogen and ammonia. Say you are actually performing this reaction and you do not have the right amount of nitrogen. You just have half a mole or 0.3 mole or something. How does that manifest in the production of ammonia? Will you get no ammonia at all? Or will you get little bit of ammonia? You will get less than 2 moles or more than 3 moles. And that's what we are trying to understand in this reaction. So if you were to write down some sort of a table just to make sure that you have the numbers correct. So according to the stoichiometry, according to the balanced equation, 1 mole reacts with 3 moles to give you 2 moles. Okay. Now let's say for example you have 0.5 moles of nitrogen. It's a 1 to 3 ratio. Okay. So if you want all the 0.5 moles of nitrogen to react, then you should have 1.5 moles of hydrogen and they both will react to yield 1 mole of ammonia. Try to understand this. Okay. 1 mole of nitrogen reacts with 3 moles of ammonia to yield 2 moles of, 1 mole of nitrogen reacts with 3 moles of hydrogen to yield 2 moles of ammonia. But instead of 1 mole, if you had 0.5 moles, it's a 1 to 3 ratio. So if there is 0.5 moles of nitrogen, for this entire 0.5 moles of nitrogen to react, you will need 1.5 moles of hydrogen. They both will react and produce 1 mole of ammonia. Does that make sense? Alright.